Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Elder Vernon Brown here from Harvest of Hope Christian Center, and I hope you are having an amazing Thursday. No matter how good your day is going, no matter if your day got started off on the wrong foot, right now, right here, this very moment is a time for you to hit the reset button and get your day back on track. Today's biblical principle for life is get this: the receipts do not lie. The receipts do not lie. We're going to talk about how you've been living. We're going to talk about the receipts and the true facts of how you've been living. So let's hop into today's biblical principle. When I was growing up, I remember my dad had a really, really fat wallet. Now, I don't know how much money he carried around in there, but what I do know is that it was always bursting at the seams with receipts. He had receipts for gas and receipts for groceries, receipts for the cheesesteak that he snuck out and ate the night before. He seemed to have a receipt for every single thing that he purchased. Now the question is, well, why did he carry around all of these receipts? What was so important about these receipts? You see, a receipt is written proof that something of value had been exchanged. Something of value had been exchanged. I gave you money, so you therefore gave me those new pairs of shoes that I was looking for. I gave you something valuable, so you gave me something that I needed. Receipts tell you where you've been, what you did while you were there, and in some cases, who you were doing whatever you were doing with. You see, receipts can tell stories that we're often not truthful enough to utter out loud. But these days you don't have to carry around as many receipts as you once used to. Now they have these really cool apps that basically go into your bank account and tell you how much money you're spending on different categories within your life. You see, they break them down in categories like bills and utilities and things you spend on your car, whether it's gas or something else. And you look at the report that they provide you and you say, oh yeah, that sounds about right. I definitely paid those bills each and every month. But as you keep reading down in that application, things get a little more interesting. You see, they have more categories like your Amazon purchases and the money you spend at different restaurants and even the money you spend at department stores. Now, when you look at these numbers, when you look at how much money you've spent at Amazon or shopping online, you may be thinking, how in the world did I spend that much money on that? How did I waste that much money on subscriptions that I barely even open? How could I waste this much money on applications on my phone that I barely ever open? That's the question. That's the question right there. How in the world have I wasted this much money? You see, the Bible says where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And so the question I have for you as we get specific into your life is I wonder what your receipts would say about what's important to you. You see, because I know we've got hopes and dreams. I know we have aspirations. I know we have things that we desire to do in our lives. But the question is, what do the receipts say about your actions? You see, I know you say and you talk about you want to save for a house, but your receipts say that you must be on your way to fashion school with the amount of clothes you buy every single week. I know you say you're a struggling mom, but your receipts say that you may be a struggling mom, but you're not struggling. What you're not struggling for is to go to a nice restaurant because you spend 80% of your free money on going out to eat. What does your receipts say about you? I know you say that you want to start a business and invest in it and see that it grows, but your receipts say that you have a habit of smoking up every dollar that comes into your pocket. What are your receipts saying about you? Today, I want to give you 3 points to help you with your receipts, to help you manage your receipts, and hopefully show you how important these things are in your life. So what does that mean in English? We don't want to be a church family that only talks about what we want out of life. We want to be a church family that truly lives according to what we say, so much so that our receipts back up everything that we've been talking. I don't want to be a person that says I want one thing but does something completely different in my real life. I don't want to be a person that says I have this goal, but when you look at how I invest my time, when you look at how I invest my money, when you look at how I invest my resources, the two things do not line up. The only way to do that is to look our life in the eye and have the tough conversations about our responsibility for the life that we lead. I got 3 points for you. The first point is, number one, show me your receipts and I will tell you what's coming in the mail. Show me your receipts and I will tell you what's coming in the mail. That's point number one. Point number two is, some receipts aren't your fault, but they are your problem. And finally, point number three, you are what you consistently do. Let's hop into the first point. The first point, once again, is show me your receipts and I will tell you what's coming in the mail. Have you ever forgotten that you had ordered something on Amazon or on some online store until when you pull up in your driveway and you see that package sitting in front of your door and you were like, what in the world is that? Because I don't remember ordering anything. You know, last week you bought it, but this week you've forgotten and you're wondering what it is. Maybe you've forgotten that you had ordered it because you were busy at the time. Maybe you ordered it in the middle of the night while you were barely awake. Maybe you forgot that you had ordered it because it really wasn't that important. But regardless of the reason, you've got this box sitting in your front yard that you've ordered, and now you have no idea what's inside of it. I wonder if I wonder if that's how God sees us in our own lives when we're living our lives and we're making decisions each and every day. We're placing orders today for what we want tomorrow to look like. You see, some of the decisions we're making, some of the orders that we're placing is, do I want more relaxation or do I want that swimsuit ready body? Decision was made. Do I want a more fruitful relationship with God or shall I prioritize sleeping in versus praying? Decision made. Do I feed my senses with things that are going to strengthen my resolve or do I lean into temptation? Decision made. Day after day, we're making purchases with every single decision that we made until one day we get these receipts. You see, day after day, we make these decisions, but it's not until after the box shows up on our first step that we realize what we have done. You see, you've ordered that gluttony, that gluttonous lifestyle. So now open that poor health package on your front yard or on at your front porch. You've ordered that self-indulgence. So now open what comes from that, which is that addiction package sitting on your front porch. You've ordered that focus on self. Now open the box of your separation from God. What packages are showing up at your door that don't align with what you say that you want? What are your words saying? What are your actions showing? Do those things align each and every day? Or are they always on the opposite sides of the court? You see, we all like to get surprised about what's happening in our lives, but a lot of times, get this, if you show me your receipts, if you show me your decisions, if you show me how you're living, I'll show you what's coming in the mail. I'll show you what's coming down the pipe. I'll show you where your life is going. I'll show you some of the difficulties you're going to be running into. You see, because we all have that best friend. You know, your best friend's got blessings falling from heaven every single which way. If you check the receipts, she's probably been in her prayer closet. Your coworker has healing all over her life. If you check the receipts, she's been living for God. Your grandmama seems to have a direct line to God's ear. But if you check those receipts, she's been walking faithfully on this journey for a long time. When I look at your receipts, when you look at your own receipts, when you look at what's happening in your life right now, the question is, what have you been doing? I want you to go with me into the Word of God to learn about a package that showed up at a man's door, and he had forgotten how when he had ordered it. You see, this package wasn't very pleasant. In fact, it could have cost him his life, but it wasn't until someone brought him these receipts that he realized this package, in fact, he had ordered some time before. Turn with me to the book of Second Samuel, chapter 12, verses 1 all the way down to verse 7. It reads like this. It says, "Then the Lord sent Nathan to David. When he came to him, he said, there were two men in a certain town, one rich and the other one poor." Stay with me. The rich man had a very large number of sheep and cattle, but the poor man had nothing except this one little bit of lamb that he had bought. You see, he had raised it and he had grew up with him and his children. It shared his food, drank from his cup, and even slept in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. Now, a traveler came to the rich man, but the rich man refrained from taking one of his own sheep or cattle to prepare a meal for the traveler who had come to him. Instead, he took the lamb that belonged to the poor man, that poor man's only lamb. He took that lamb and prepared it for the one who had come to him. Now get this, David, he's our main character. King David, you've heard a lot about him. King David that slayed the giant. David burned with anger against the man and said to Nathan, as surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this must die. He must pay for that lamb, not one, not two, not three, but four times over, because he did such a thing and had no pity. Verse 7, then it gets real. Here's the package showing up at his front door. Here's the truth, or here's the receipt that he's showing him. Now Nathan said to David, you are the man. This is what the Lord of God of Israel said. I anointed you king over Israel, and I delivered you from the hand of Saul. We're going to stop right there. King David had it all. He was favored. He was successful. He was king. Everything was going his way until one day Nathan showed up. You see, Nathan told him about a situation where a man had everything stolen. A man who had everything stole something very valuable from a poor man. This rich man had abundance, but he still took from the lack of the poor man. David was like many of us who sit on our high horses, who act all holy, who act like we do everything right. And he said that this is such a terrible thing, and this man should die for what he did. And it was at that moment that Nathan pulled out a little white sheet of paper and showed David that this man was actually him. Nathan told David, you better check this receipt, because this is exactly how you've been living. This situation is the delivery that followed what you had ordered due to how you were living. You see, David had all the women that he needed, but for some reason, when he saw another man's wife, he decided that he needed one more. And it was in this moment of lust that he made a purchase and got a receipt that he would have to deal with later. But when the results of his actions came knocking at his front door, he had long forgot about what he had did. But here's the point. The receipts never lie. The receipts always show up. The receipt is always written somewhere. I wonder how many of us are receiving packages in this season from things we've purchased months or even years ago. Let me make this personal so you understand I'm talking about you and talking about your life. I wonder how many problems, I wonder how many situations, I wonder how many difficulties, I wonder how many storms aren't bad luck, aren't the devil, but are the result of our decisions, and the bill has just now come due. I wonder if we can be honest enough to say that I ordered this storm. I ordered this difficulty. I ordered this trial. I'm the reason why I'm sitting in the middle of this difficult time. I'm the person that did what was necessary to do for this problem to show up in my front yard. The question is, can you take ownership for where you are today, whether your fault or not? Some way, somehow, in some sense, your decision landed you right here in this moment. Let's move on to point number two. Point number two is some receipts aren't your fault, but they are your problem. I'm going to say it again. Some receipts aren't your fault, but they are your problem. The question is, how did David find himself in this situation? You see, the Bible tells us in earlier scriptures that in springtime, when kings go off to war, David was a king. David was for some reason at home chilling with his feet kicked up. And while he was at home, while kings are usually at war, he saw this beautiful woman that happened to be another man's wife, which led him to making this terrible decision. Now we don't know specifically why he stayed home. Maybe he had plotted this thing out, or there's another reason, or maybe someone in his family was sick and he wanted to tend to him. Maybe that was a reason. Maybe he had caught a cramp in his right leg and he couldn't walk. And so for some reason, he couldn't walk. He had to stay home until this other woman showed up. But anyways, that's beside the point. Maybe this whole thing was outside of his control. Go with me. Whatever the reason was, what we do know is that he was at home while he was supposed to be at war. And at some point while he was at home, he slipped, he fell, bumped his head, and ended up in bed with another man's wife. But and I wonder, after all of this stuff happened, perhaps David said, if this war would have never happened, then I wouldn't be in this situation. Or perhaps if God never allowed me to stay at home for some reason, maybe this would have never happened. Maybe he would have never fallen. Maybe this whole problem could have been avoided if some other decision was made, if something kept him from being at home. Maybe it's somebody else's problem. Maybe I'm not responsible for being here. Maybe I can pin this blame on another person, but at some point we have to take responsibility for where we are. It's easy and it's convenient to lay the decision at the feet of someone else, but at the end of the day, even if it's someone else's problem, even if someone else led you to be in this situation, even if someone else put you here, it's not your fault, but it is your problem. What does that mean? That means that circumstances are going to come up that aren't always in your control. But what you can control is within your control. It's not your fault that you're here, but it is your problem to solve and to make the right decision while you're in this particular place. Your circumstances isn't your fault, but it is your problem, and you still need to make the right decision while you're in the middle of it. No matter what happens around you, whether it's of your creation or not, that doesn't absolve you from having to make the right decision. What I want you to get out of this discussion about receipts is that we must take ownership of our decision, no matter who created the situation, no matter who created this problem, no matter what has me at home when I'm supposed to be at war, and now I'm staring at this person's spouse. You have to be strong enough. You have to be steadfast enough. You have to have the character enough to make the right decision, whether you find yourself in the right place or whether you've fallen into the wrong place. Because at the end of the day, it's not about who put you there. It's not about the situation that put you there. It's about the receipt that's going to be written based upon the decision or the purchase that you make. And are you willing to pay the price for your decision? Are you willing to pay the price for your determination? Are you willing to write the check to cover the bill for what decisions you're making in your life? Now, you may be asking yourself, why is this important? Why does this even matter? Why do decisions matter? Why do these receipts matter? Why are we talking about this 6:30 on a Thursday morning? Because of point three. Point three is you are what you consistently do. You are what you're consistently do. As good or as bad as you are, as rich or as poor as you are, as fat or as in shape as you are, as holy or as unholy as you are today, you are the sum of the decisions that not your mama, not your cousin, not your sister, not your husband, not your wife. You are the sum of the decisions you have made. You see, some of you look at your lives and say, I love my life. I love who I am. I like where I'm going. I love the decisions that I'm making and where that is taking me within my life. And that's amazing. And I hope that every one of you can say that with a straight face. However, there are going to be others of you that look at your life and say, I am not happy about it. But no matter what side of the fence you find yourself on, you are what you have consistently done. So I've come here on a Thursday morning to tell you, if you love who you are, do more of what you're doing. If you're not happy about who you've become, you need to go back and check your receipts and see what you've done to get yourself here. You see, what consistent decisions have you made to bring you to the place in which you feel the way that you do? You see, every tree produces fruit after its own kind. What in the world does that mean in English? What that means is that if you're an apple tree, you're going to make apples. If you're an orange tree, you're going to make oranges. If you're a grapevine, guess what? You're going to make grapes. But the best part about being a person, being a human, not being a tree, but being a person who makes decisions, who lives, who leads, who can choose right or wrong, is the fact that today, a single decision today, a single decision you make while driving in your car today, a single decision you make while listening to the radio while you get dressed for work today can change everything for you in your life going forward. One decision. Well, one decision to say, I'm going to live the life that I can be proud of. One decision to say, I'm no longer going to be a victim of my circumstances because I recognize that it's not my fault, but it is my problem. One decision today that you are going to align your words with your actions. So the fruit of the two things are actually going to line up with your goals. One more decision today that you're no longer going to blame God for not giving you what you're praying for, but rather you're going to blame yourself for not being consistent and developing your relationship with God so that when you cry out, He hears you, He answers you, and get this, He can trust you with whatever it is that you're asking for. The question I want you to understand today is, what are you consistently doing, and is that producing the results in your life that you are proud of? Or do you look at your life and say, this is not where I want to be. This is not where I hope to be. This is not where I wanted to be at this particular phase in life. And then there comes the decision point. Are you going to blame someone else? Or are you going to look yourself in the mirror and say, I am the sum of the decisions that I've made? Yes, some decisions may have been made for me that started me a little bit behind, but the question that you still have to take ownership for is, you have the same opportunity to get up early. You have the same opportunity to be consistent. You have the same opportunity to study like you've never studied before. You have the same opportunity to show up for Bible study. You have the same opportunity to show up to be a strong man. You have the same opportunity to show up and be a great father. You have the same opportunity to be the best mother that you can be. You have the same opportunity to be whoever it is that you are willing to make the consistent decisions that are going to ultimately get you there. But I'll tell you one thing, what's not going to get you there is you continually buying and placing orders for things and not expecting the results of those things to show up at your door. We got to take ownership of our decisions, people. We got to make better decisions, people. We got to look at our life and say, yes, I am unhappy with my life. But the real question is, are you unhappy enough to change? Because you can change everything with one decision right now. Choose to create the life that you want to live. Well, will you decide to make that choice today? Will you decide to live a life you can be proud of, or will you keep buying stuff, filling your wallet up with receipts, and acting surprised when situations, when people like Nathan in the Bible, when we were talking about David, come and knock on your front door and show you the fruit of the poor decisions you have made? At the end of the day, the choice is yours. I'm just the delivery guy, bringing you the package, bringing you a message this morning, hopefully giving you the encouragement that you need to take your life from where it is today and elevating it to where you want it to be tomorrow. I want to thank you for tuning in with us for Biblical Principles for Life. I hope you got something out of our time together this morning. As always, I'd like to end with this simple word of encouragement. Biblical Principles family, you are not alone. No matter how dark it seems, you're not alone. No matter how difficult or how much you're in the middle of the storm, you are not alone because God sees you. And God doesn't just see you from afar, He's in the middle of it with you. And let me tell you, from me to you, you are doing a good job. But there's always more decisions, more receipts. There's always more work to do. I hope you have an amazing Thursday, and I can't wait to talk to you the same time next week for Biblical Principles for Life. Have an amazing Thursday.